我係 Mancy 啦，
我係 Jeremy， 係啦。
等我同大家介紹一下我哋公司嘅 background， 好快咁樣。但係喺我哋介紹自己公司 background 之前咧，我哋先同阿 Sam say 個 hi。
好啊
Hi Sam。
我睇下阿 Sam 喺咪度先
Hi Sam.
Hi, Sam here from Cedar Crest Mortgage Brokers. We're a UK mortgage broker based in Hong Kong. And today I'm going to talk you through the application process, also show you some case studies in terms of what the mortgage deal would look like comparing buy to let and buy to live, and also just answer any questions that you might have about the mortgage process or the mortgage market. So yeah, looking forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you, Sam. I understand Sam has prepared some real case study and then share with us today. So 我哋一陣間再同阿 Sam 睇一睇佢啲 real case 啦，咁啊俾個 idea 大家究竟喺咩情況下你借嘅 leverage 係幾多，同埋佢 interest rate 係幾多啦。不過我啱睇到啦，阿 Sam 係咪露唔到個樣咧？冇問題嘅，咁我一陣間再
處理啦，我哋
再處理啦。咁啊，首先我哋同大家介紹一下啦，我哋世紀21期豐國際啊，係 under 我哋嘅 mother company 啦，就係世紀21期豐物業啦，駐紮咗香港超過30年㗎啦，咁啊，即係嚟講今年係第33年啦。我哋喺香港超過27間嘅本地分行啦，亦都係香港最大嘅 franchise。咁啊，主要就為香港人咧提供物業買賣嘅服務嘅。咁啊，由2年前開始就成立咗我哋呢間公司啦，奇豐國際就係幫香港人咧，除咗本地置業之外，就係搜羅海外一啲筍盤、靚盤帶翻嚟香港俾大家。咁啊，亦都係因為冇公司嘅原因啦，我哋自己嘅奇豐國際都創咗4大保證，就係希望可以消卻我哋香港買家對於隔山買樓嘅疑慮啦。
安心啦。
係啦，咁啊，我哋會有自己嘅 fact check 期啦，亦都有自己24小時 hotline 啦。最重要嘅就係喺我哋奇豐國際買嘅物業咧，係絕無差價，亦都絕無日價㗎。咁基本上有一啲特別嘅樓盤，如果我哋係有能力攞到 exclusive agent， 即係作為 sole agent 嘅話咧，有機會會有多啲 incentives 添嘅。咁所以希望喺我哋呢度令到你海外置業得到安心啦。
冇錯。
咁啊，呢個就係基本嘅公司簡介啦。咁啊，下一張咧就會係我哋公司嘅分佈網絡圖。咁啊，大家如果有需要嘅話咧，可以去唔同嘅分行度索取我哋海外置業嘅一啲基本資料啦。因為每一間分店咧，我都擺咗一啲海外物業嘅資料落去嘅。如果你話我未必會過海見我哋啲 public consultant，我哋都可以約起我哋嘅分行見面啦。咁啊，總有一間希望喺你左近啊。咁啊，大致上我哋嘅簡介就係咁樣，同埋最重要就係我哋喺英國當地咧都有自己嘅分公司嘅，咁我哋自己可以做到 local 嘅 sourcing 啦，同埋 property management。咁所以如果有客戶係特登飛過英國當地嘅話，咁可以同翻我哋 property consultant 講啦，咁我哋會幫你 make 翻 appointment 再帶你周圍睇樓嘅。
咁我哋進入我哋今日嘅主題啦，因為我哋都想快啲去即係同大家講講啦，而家呢個英國市場狀況。咁啊，睇翻而家最近咧一個叫房地產網站啦，英國房地產網站 Super 嘅一個統計啦。咁啊，分別有左手面3月同4月一個統計嘅。咁啊，主要係講翻個 house price 嘅。咁你見到啦，因為其實咧我都聽過即係可能而家呢邊啦，或者香港市場上咧，其實都有好多嘅覺得啦，可能因為加息啊，或者令到任何嘅經濟令到有一啲叫做不穩定嘅影響啦。但係你可以睇翻咧，其實3月到4月啦，其實都有一個持續嘅升幅嘅。咁可以即係俾到一個買家呢個安心啦。可以話其實樓價咧雖然可能聽到有好多嘅不穩定因素啦，都係持續係上升緊嘅咁樣咯。咁而且啦，因為其實英國咧都係一個長期供不應求嘅狀態啦，咁所以咧你可以見翻右邊嗰幅圖啦，咁仍然咧佢嗰個 demand 咧係好強嘅，咁可以去到61% 嘅增長咗。咁而嗰個叫做stock of home for sales 咧，咁呢邊咧就係一個叫做供應啦，咁就係你可以睇翻咧佢係減咗好多嘅，咁所以造就到一個咧供不應求嘅狀態出現啦。咁呢個供不應求嘅狀態咧，其實你可以睇翻啦，而家買得最多又或者喺市場上最多嘅一個叫做物業嘅種類係啲乜嘢咧？主要咧而家嗰個銷售情況最強嘅，暫時係兩房嘅 flat 啦，同埋兩房嘅叫做一到兩房嘅 flat 啦。你可以睇翻左上面嗰幅圖，係啦。咁你可以睇翻咧3月啦，3月嗰個叫做銷售量咧係32，咁而家咧係29嘅。咁你可以見到咧佢個市場供應咧係少咗。即係比起上一個月咧係再少啲嘅，咁可以睇翻啦，嗰個叫做樓價升幅啦，因而咧係而得到一個成長咁樣咯。 咁睇翻而家個 rental market 啦，咁呢度咧亦都係主要咧係講翻成個英國啦，特別係倫敦嘅。咁因為咧而家成個英國啦嗰個叫做租務市場啦係非常之蓬勃嘅，特別係倫敦，因為咧講緊係而家計緊呢條數咧係一個按年計算嘅數字啦。咁對翻上一年啦，因為上一年始終都係一個叫做 Covid 嘅影響之下啦，咁令到好多住喺倫敦嘅人啦就出咗去出面咧去到居住嘅。咁所以咧去翻今年啦，個疫情開始慢慢緩和翻啦，同埋個防疫政策開始寬鬆翻之後咧，咁好多出咗去出面住嘅人啦就翻嚟倫敦呢邊咧租住啦。咁所以嗰個叫做市場嗰個叫做競爭力啦，都係強咗好多嘅。咁亦都可以睇翻啦，佢嗰個叫做平均嘅租務時間啦，都係大概14日度咧就可以租到出去噶啦。
我諗呢個最大嘅一個 supportive 就係講緊究竟倫敦有幾大嘅 bounce back 咯。因為之前我哋成日都講啦，我哋唔同城市都有唔同嘅投資價值嘅。有陣時我哋會睇翻本身市場嘅供應量啦、需求量啦，再嚟定究竟我哋應該入手邊一個 city。咁倫敦不嬲都係名列前茅嘅藍籌城市㗎啦。早嗰排咧，倫敦始終佢哋嘅樓價企得硬啊。相對地佢個租金回報咧就冇咁理想，所以點解有一排咧，特別係 Covid 嚴重嗰一排咧，我哋成日都話 Outer London 或者係北部城市啦。但係見到啦，當成個城市 bounce back 翻嚟咧，藍籌城市嘅嗰個 bounce back 嘅能力係大好多，因為所有嘅配套啦，同埋嘅設施都齊晒。最重要嘅就係本身個房地產市場，倫敦都係成熟嘅。咁所以倫敦咧，其實由遠古到而家都好受一班咧，真係中意穩定性嘅投資者去入手 London 嘅。咁而家一個 double digit 嘅增長啦，咁都係講翻，因為當初咧可能 downsize 嘅時候有少少有啲唔好嘅 negative 啦，原因就係因為始終倫敦個租企得太硬啦，大家見到 Covid 啦，又開多咗 work from home 啦，咁就去咗 Outer London。不過當個城市 bounce back 翻晒嚟，啲人開始翻晒工之後，市中心嘅租盤個需求又正翻，咁租金價值自然叫高。有個 will case 啦，我哋有個樓盤係 Zone 2嘅，咁叫 London City Island 啦，咁基本上都係我哋自己啲熟客買嘅。喺 Covid 期間咧，佢減咗租大約8%。OK，咁啱今年年頭咧，我哋要續租，咁租客就續租啦。咁我哋加翻租咧，係加翻原先水平嘅 amount，再額外加多5%租嘅。咁所以呢個就係倫敦 bounce back 嗰個能力啦。
咁亦都有啲細例子可以俾大家睇下啦。咁呢度就係我哋揾嘅一啲新聞啦。咁你可以睇到咧，啱啱Mancy 咧提到嘅一個叫做報復式加租咧，其實可以講到係啦，係可以出現到喺而家呢個倫敦呢個租務市場上面嘅。咁亦都見到啦，係講緊係28個租客啦，爭一個單位嘅。咁呢個你見到個需求嘅嚴重性咧係非常之強嘅，係啦。咁所以咧，對於其實倫敦成個嘅租務市場啊，或者係樓市咧，其實完全係唔需要擔心咯。咁我哋今次想同大家介紹一個地方咧，就主要係一個 Clapham 嘅位置啦，係位於 Zone 2嘅。咁位於喺倫敦嘅西南邊Southwest 呢個位置。咁你見到其實呢個位咧，點解右手邊咧會有啲好似好熟悉嘅面孔咧？即係例如咩 Gordon Ramsay 啊，或者係右下角嘅小丑女啊，或者右上角嘅一個喺Fast and Furious 裏面出現過一啲角色，因為佢哋都喺呢度住嘅。係啦，咁點解會喺呢邊住咧？主要就係因為佢呢邊第一樣嘢好住啦，第二樣嘢方便啦，第三樣嘢就係呢邊聚集嘅都係一啲叫做中產啊，或者收入稍為高少少嘅人士。咁我印象中啦，之前我哋喺英國嗰陣時啦，咁喺同發展商接觸嗰陣時咧，都聽過佢話佢自己都係住喺嗰邊嘅喎。
Clapham 其實係一個好得意嘅地方啊，因為如果大家係了解或者熟英國嘅話，你大家就好清楚知道 Clapham 啦，因為 Clapham Junction 係一個好大嘅 transportation hub 啦。Clapham Road、Clapham High Street 係一個好嘅消遣地方啦。香港人可能比較少聽啲嘅，唔係因為佢唔好，只係因為佢太少新盤供應。因為嚟得香港嘅多數都係做新盤嘅供應，但係 Clapham 本身咧，佢係一個好成熟同埋一個 middle class or above 嘅一個 residential area。咁再加上咧，佢真係啲地咧，基本上都 fully occupied 㗎啦。咁今日帶俾大家嘅 project 咧，其實佢本身都係一個 listed building。redevelop 咗一個屋苑式，再起多一棟新嘅 new building residential tower， 咁我哋先有機會可以將呢個新 project 帶嚟香港介紹俾大家。咁所以 Clapham 呢個地方咧發展咗好耐，交通好成熟，配套好好，氛圍治安 項目各樣嘢都係 above average 嘅。咁陣間可以再俾埋個 demographic 大家睇。
冇錯。
咁所以而家點解我哋今個月會係咁 educate 大家？Clapham 其實真係值得留意㗎。Even 我喺香港嘅一啲英國朋友，我一講起話，我攞咗個 Clapham 樓盤翻嚟啦。
係，佢哋好開心啊！
上個禮拜我同咗香港一個大嘅發展商嘅咩食飯啦。咁佢又問我，Nancy 你哋而家世紀廿期工做緊啲咩盤啊？我最近簽咗個 Clapham 啊，跟住佢話Clapham is a good place。因為佢自己個朋友其實自己都係住喺 Clapham，OK，咁所以呢個就係真係住喺當地嘅人會了解同中意 Clapham 呢個地方，所以希望一眾嘅投資者絕對可以放眼了解一下 Clapham 可以為你帶來啲咩嘅投資價值。冇錯，
咁我哋先睇睇佢嘅地理位置其實位於喺邊度啦。咁其實啦，我啱啱提過啦，其實佢就係喺成個倫敦嘅西南邊嘅，咁位於喺 Battersea Park 嘅南邊啦，同埋喺Fastwell嘅右下角左下角 ，sorry， 咁非常之近翻咧松溫嘅，因為始終呢個樓盤呢個位置咧，其實都係位於喺松超嘅啫。咁松超如果去松溫，其實去嘅時間咧長極有限啦，可以咁講。
好得意啊！我啲個 friend 話俾我聽，Clapham 唔係松溫嘅咩？
係
因為其實真係爭兩個站，同埋成個嘅環境個氛圍咧，佢哋有一個 cycling highway 嘅，佢哋好中意踩單車去翻 Bank 或者 Tower Bridge 嗰度翻工，所以佢哋真係以為咧，唔係松溫嘅咩？原來松超㗎，佢就係咁近啊！
冇錯，
同埋好多人都會攞一個好明星，即係香港人大家都聽過啦，就係 Battersea，OK， 成日攞去同 Battersea 做比較嘅。咁陣間會有個 chart 話俾大家聽 ，Battersea 同佢雖然好近，但係個價差好大。原因就係 Battersea 好多新盤供應，好似香港咁樣啦。例如將軍澳 ，OK， 咁抽飛喎新樓，我入咗飛啊！
你開心啊！
希望我抽到啦。咁好似將軍澳咁樣，呢啲新發展嘅市鎮，因為 keep 住有新樓盤推出，所以個樓價不斷向上係咁 boost up， 所以亦都有啲我哋自己行內人覺得Battersea 係值得投資嘅。不過可能個水分又或者個樓價已經係升咗一橛啦。呢啲可以最低水入，因為 keep 咗新盤推出啊嘛。咁但係 Clapham 就係一個冇乜新盤推出嚟嘅 market，咁所以基本上咧，啲二手樓企嘅價好硬，新樓出嚟嘅時候咧，佢個價差嘅 difference 比較細。咁所以而家睇翻 Super Move 咧，其實今次 Clapham 呢個新盤特別，今次係 first release 嘅 price list 咧，其實佢嗰個水位係真係好低，所以佢入手嘅投資價值就大咗好多。
冇錯。咁同埋咧，其實我哋睇翻呢一邊 Clapham 呢一區啦，其實主要咧都係一啲叫做二手樓為主嘅，因為我哋都上過去叫做Clapham， 即係個 Rainmove 所有嘢啦。咁我哋都睇到啦，其實佢嗰個新樓嘅供應量咧真係非常之低，同埋全部都係一啲低密度住宅。咁所以呢邊咧，即使啦佢係有新樓供應都好啦，佢嘅供應量都係非常之少嘅。
同埋最重要就係，如果你真係 along with Clapham Road within 5-6分鐘可以翻返去 Clapham High Street 係冇新樓咯。2年前香港曾經有一個新樓，但係嗰邊係近翻再北啲，就係 Stockwell 嗰邊，係啦。咁所以佢又冇去到我哋個 location 咁即係咁 premium。
我覺得係。
咁睇翻而家現有嘅居住人口啦，個demographic啦，因為呢個係一個好好嘅 data 去俾翻我哋啲 investor 去睇翻，究竟我哋將來個租戶群同埋放售嘅二手 market 對象係邊個？咁基本上啦，喺 Clapham 入邊嘅人均收入總值係 above average 嘅。OK， 咁基本上你見到啦，中間嗰個位置 SW9BT 嗰個 postcode 咧，基本上就係今次 project exactly 嘅 location。咁周邊嘅人嘅 middle price range 個 income 係講緊係49K， 即係差唔多50萬港紙年薪嘅 average middle range 咁跟住你睇翻我哋呢一區嘅勞動人口嘅 social grading 啦 ，OK，social grade 基本上就係 A、B 佔大比例，然後 C1。咁你見到下面
有啲 description 嘅，睇翻啦，
就係 senior level 啦。基本上都係 management， 可能係 junior management，但係基本上咧都係 professional 嘅 ，OK。咁所以呢一邊嘅 working class 咧，基本上就係 high educated 啦 ，OK。跟住本身有一個穩定啲嘅職業啦，佢哋可以 afford 到啲高嘅租金啦。咁所以呢度嘅人均消費咧，唔係話真係好平。OK， 但係呢班人俾得起錢，亦都 enjoy 個 lifestyle。咁所以喺 Clapham Road 同埋 Clapham High Street 咧，見到好多鋪貼好靚嘅餐廳啊 ，butcher store 啊，即係有啲過百年歷史嘅切肉店啊、tea house 啊、flower shop 啊，咁呢啲都係 Clapham 嘅特質啦。
冇錯，咁亦都可以睇翻啦。我哋其實 SW9BT 呢個 postcode 啦，其實你睇翻佢收入咧49萬咧，sorry 係49,000英鎊啦。其實可以超過咗咧 Westminster 嘅平均收入㗎。你睇翻右手邊呢個，咁所以咧你可以睇翻其實我哋而家呢一區咧嗰個叫做收入個水平咧係相對之高㗎。
咁啊，除咗佢本身成個配套之外咧，其實我哋成日都話投資房地產最重要嘅 location 啦。咁啊，transportation 我哋唔特別講咧，因為佢一定係 well developed 㗎，有 underground 啦，有 overground 啦，有 Clapham Junction 啦，有巴士線啦，亦都有條專貨 cycling 嘅 cycling highway 啦。咁淨係樓盤行2分鐘已經有個 tube station 啦
，12分鐘內有4個站。
係啦，5分鐘有個 overground。咁所以 transportation 我哋就唔特別 emphasize，因為 Clapham 係出名係。transportation hub 係 perfect 嘅。
咁啊，關於配套方面咧，其實佢都非常之成熟嘅。最主要係關於咧佢裡面嘅生活配套方面啦，特別係你話買即係 superstore 啊，即係 bar 啊、餐廳啊、藥房啊、clinic 啊，同埋嗰個叫做leisure centre 啊，都係喺15分鐘內咧係步行得到嘅。咁所以你可以見到其實係非常之方便，同埋咧學校啦，亦都可以見到右上面嗰幅圖啦，其實都有 good 同 outstanding 嘅 school 咧，可以俾當地人去做選擇嘅。咁我哋而家 search 個位咧就係 exactly 樓盤嗰個位置去做 search 嘅咁樣樣咯。咁
我哋呢一區就好少話真係 target 中小學校反而咧而家如果去到 Clapham 你要見到咧好多就算係學生都係 uni student，因為佢好近 King's College 啊、LSE 啊、London College 啊，原因就因為近送運。即係方便翻學嘛，同埋呢一個嘅環境夠 hip 同埋夠 lifestyle，
係佢哋中意嘅 style。
咁所以附近嘅環境都係 young professional 為主啊。小朋友係少啲嘅，不過如果你真係諗住自住有校網嘅話咧，呢度都可以 facilitate 嚟㗎。
咁你亦都睇下我哋呢邊咧，亦都有好多唔少嘅打卡餐廳啦，亦都係有好多嘅當地嘅一啲叫做YouTuber 啊，去呢邊咧做一啲採訪啊，或者係做一啲試食咁樣樣嘅。咁你可以drop 低佢啦，咁到時可以去試下咁樣樣。
我特登睇間餐廳。
係啊，係靚嘅嗰間叫 Old Town 啊，係啊，係一間都較出名嘅餐廳咧，因為佢上面有個露台咧，係坐得低之餘，係啊，
呢個。
不過我哋就覺得好凍，我哋就唔似當地人咧，就即係 T 恤短褲咁樣坐喺出面，我哋就羽絨啊，都係4月啊。
畫面上面見到咧。又係一個好大嘅投資價值嘅一個 main point 啊，因為其實你話 Inner London、Zone 1、Zone 2、Zone 3，其實如果你 walking distance 去到一個大嘅 Green Park 嘅話，係一個好大嘅賣點 ，for tenant 又好 ，for 你 second-hand sales market 又係。咁我哋今次啲樓盤咧，沿住 Clapham Road 向前行，先10分鐘，你已經到咗呢一個咁大85公頃嘅 Clapham Common 嘅公園。因為譬如你話 Zone 1啦，大嘅綠化公園其實有數得計嘅。有 High Park 啦
，Regent Park 咁啊，Zone 2就去到 Finsbury Park 啦，然後 Clapham Common 啦，去到 Zone 3就去到Greenwich 嗰啲係啦。
咁所以變相如果你喺 Inner London 咧，可以數得到嘅公園咧，其實都係5隻手指數得晒。
冇錯。
咁所以逢親咧係真係 walking distance 去翻啲大公園嘅話，個 resale value 係真係高好多。
同埋呢個公園咧係好有特別喎，你見到佢係即係間唔中咧係會有一啲活動係會舉行啦，例如有音樂節啊，例如有夜間嘅一啲劇場啊咁樣樣。咁你見到呢啲咧都係佢哋common 裏面我哋揾嘅圖片啦，即係當地嘅活動。
同埋我哋成日都話咧，呢個公園嘅價值咧就睇翻佢附近嘅樓盤質素。因為逢親咧近公園咧，樓盤質素同埋附近個氛圍或者個 crime rate 都係唔會太差。
冇錯。
因為始終人來人往，同埋比較少橫街窄巷，再加上我哋今次嘅樓盤咧 along with 呢個 Clapham Road，而 Clapham Road 亦都係連接住呢個 Clapham High Street。冇錯。係啦。咁呢個 High Street
咧，你可以見到咧，其實有好多唔同嘅餐廳啦、店鋪啦、零售商店啦咁樣樣。咁而且咧，佢其實咧喺條 High Street 嗰邊啦，去到Clapham Common 附近嗰邊咧，有一個叫做週末嘅 market 嘅。係啦，我哋啲去晚點鐘就閂咗門，影唔到俾大家睇。係啦，我哋就上網揾咗啲片啦，同埋揾咗啲相啦，俾大家去參考。咁我都想 share 一條片俾大家咧，去做一個叫做叫做參考嘅。咁我睇下而家 share 俾大家望望先。咁就係我哋當時啦，4月嗰陣時咧，去到當地睇嘅一個實景嚟嘅，係啦。大家見唔見到畫面咧？如果見到，可唔可以俾個 OK 我咧？係啦。哎呀！咁喺呢邊咧其實就係條 High Street 啦，係啦。 好啦，大家咧見到臨尾呢個畫面咧，其實就係樓盤附近嘅一個景象嚟嘅。咁啱啱我哋唔講嘢咧，係因為唔想騷擾大家睇片啦。咁啱啱我哋行過咧，其實有唔同嘅地方嘅，有 Clapham High Road 啦，有去到Clapham Common 啦。你見到咧，其實最着重，唔知你哋有冇留意到啦，就係佢哋裡面嗰個叫做年齡啊，係非常之年輕嘅，去到20幾30歲嘅。咁亦都可以望到咧好多同我哋差唔多年紀嘅人咧，喺同我哋一齊食飯啊咁樣樣。係啦，咁亦都係呢邊嘅一大賣點啦。咁我就 share 翻去翻個 PowerPoint 嗰度俾大家了解啦。係咪？呢個 OK。好，呢個好。咁就係啱啱喺呢個畫面上面咧呈現晒出嚟嘅啦。咁啊，除咗呢個之外啦，其實而家咧呢個 Clapham 呢個叫地方啦，佢嗰個樓價咧都係 keep 住攀升緊嘅。咁亦都有唔同嘅新聞啦，亦都報導咗出嚟啦。咁因為咧，其實 Clapham 呢邊咧，除咗係我哋呢個位之外咧，亦都係一個叫做好大嘅 regeneration 咧，其實喺個 Clapham Common 隔離嘅，Clapham Common 隔離嘅。咁有一個將會起一個大型嘅住宅區啦。咁但係亦都係會係8到10年之後㗎啦，咁樣樣咯。
咁呢一個 chart 就俾翻大家去睇翻，我哋成日都攞 Battersea 同佢做比較，因為 Battersea 同佢好黐得好埋，同埋都係一個大嘅新興住宅區。大家啱都講過啦，因為 Battersea 好多新盤供應，咁所以佢樓價咧 boost up 得好快。咁你見到啦，淺藍色其實就係 Battersea，咁開始回落翻就係因為個 second hand market slow down 咗。但係 Clapham 就 keep 住向上，因為 second hand market 個交投量活躍，所以支撐得起。佢哋有個鋼價喺度，即係個價企得硬。咁啊，純粹 for the reference，as an investor， 我哋係差唔多 location， 咁啊差唔多 target audience， 但係個樓價就平啲，但係個升幅就大啲。咁所以點解個 investment value 其實 Clapham 好高，係志在睇下有冇樓盤可以供應到俾我哋海外買家去做。係啦，
咁啊右下角嗰幅圖唔好，大家見到紅色咧就好多驚訝，但係嗰邊咧係講緊咧喺市場上面放售嘅一啲叫做unit 放緊嘅一啲 unit， 你見到係減少咗好多，係因為成交咗唔少單位啊。嗱，咁啊，講翻我哋今次嘅樓盤啦。咁我哋今次樓盤咧，其實係位於係 Clapham North 嗰個站嘅。咁啊，供應嘅單位咧得29個嘅啫，而家剩翻10幾個嘅啫。咁price point 啦，喺516000。咁你見到咧，其實我哋啱啱提到嘅一啲叫做公園隔離嘅樓盤啦，即係我哋Zone 2由於公園隔離嘅，基本上咧一般都要去到55萬啊、75萬啊、75萬，例如 Battersea Park 啦，55萬去到 Finsbury Park 啦。咁其實都係高過我哋而家呢個嘅叫做樓價㗎啦。咁所以我覺得以Zone 2嚟講啦，我哋而家嘅樓價咧非常之抵嘅。
都係嗰句啦，因為呢一個係個 pre-sale 嘅 price list 啦。咁我哋真係 official launch 都係講緊2個禮星期前。我相信在座有啲係啦，有啲客人可能都係睇過我哋個 public launch。咁我哋香港 public launch 之前咧，咁發展商嘅 local 咧已經做咗一啲 VIP pre-sale。咁所以啲特色嘅大單位咧，反而就已經賣咗啦。原因就係因為佢哋係買嚟自住嘅。冇錯。咁呢個都係印證翻點解 Clapham 咁少樓盤供應，因為好多物業二手 second hand market，大家都係買嚟自住居多。冇錯。對於投資者嚟講 ，which 係好事啦，因為市場上放租嘅盤比較少，變相你嗰個叫價就唔使鬥價啦 ，OK？ 同埋你確保咗你嘅 second hand value， 就係啲人真係中意買嚟自住喎。咁呢個有一個好嘅 insight 俾我哋 investor 啦。同埋呢個樓盤咧係 public condown rent 㗎。咁啊，講埋發展商啦，發展商今次係第一個我哋叫 iconic project 嚟到 London 嘅，因為 Alliance 本身係西北部最大嘅發展商啦。我諗大家都可能之前有追過我哋唔同嘅 webinar， 我哋都唔特別詳細講啦。如果你有興趣呢個發展商嘅 portfolio 咧，我就可以 send 俾你望一望啦。咁啊，講翻呢個樓盤嘅位置啦。咁其實咧，啱啱我所講嘅頭先嘅 leisure centre 啊，去到 market 啊，去到 Boots 啊、bank 啊、Sainsbury 啊，其實全部咧都可以15分鐘內咧，其實到得到嘅，係完全滿足到你生活所需嘅。你翻工行2分鐘就可以去到 Clapham North 嘅 station
㗎啦。咁而呢個就係一個項目嘅外觀啦。咁其實佢係分咗兩棟嘅，一棟咧就係一個 listed building， 另一棟咧就 new build 嘅。咁前面嗰個就係 listed building 啦。咁你見到佢建築咧係保留嘅一啲叫做Georges 嗰個叫喬治亞時期嘅一個建築風格㗎。
好，咁啊最重要就係其實佢 Clapham Mall 咧，基本上好多嘅 building 都係 listed building， 保養得好好。咁基本上全部分一咧，佢哋都種咗啲唔同種類嘅植物啦。咁所以成個環境個氛圍係靚仔啦。同埋我哋行 Clapham Mall 咧，點解我哋話治安好？特別我係女仔，因為真係見唔到一啲古怪人，同埋冇乜 homeless 喺條街度。咁條街都保持得好乾淨。大家知道如果英國咧，即係可以好污糟㗎嘛啲街，但係今次呢個環境係成個 community 都好舒服，咁 that's why 點解咁多人會中意喺度自己住咯？咁同埋佢成個 project 咧，佢分開咗前後 block 啦，咁就有呢個嘅 listed block 啦，咁後邊就係一個 new build 嘅 block 嚟嘅。咁譬如啲 investor 就話：哦，我中意特色建築嘅，咁可以揀前面呢一棟啦。如果你話唔係喎，我中意 new build 嘅喎，同埋我對 layout 上面有啲要求喎，咁就可以睇下後邊嘅 block B 啦。都仲有裝修啦，入場嘅家電。家私全部包晒嘅 ，as an investor 你可以選擇你想唔想買 furniture package，OK？因為英國啲物業咧同香港啲新樓一樣係 ready to move in 嘅狀態嚟嘅 ，OK？咁個 spec 嘅 list 我哋都可以 provide 俾你稍後時間。咁啊最重要就係睇翻你想要啲咩類型嘅單位，一房兩房仲有得選擇嘅。咁啊呢個現場啦，
係啦冇錯，最新嘅叫做影片啦，同埋個相片啦。同
埋我哋咧4月真係新鮮滾熱辣，去咗個。即係個地盤度睇，咁我哋有好多唔同嘅清水樓嘅影片可以 send 俾你睇。如果你揀啱咗，譬如你想睇一房睇兩房，可以揾翻本身 serve 開你 consultant 咧，咁我就可以 send 啲片俾你睇，咁你就可以有了解啦。好，點解我會咁趕時間咧？原因就係我知道咧今日嘅重點咧，好多人都想同阿 Sam 嚟個直接對話。咁我哋而家呢個時間咧，我哋交翻俾阿 Sam 先。Hi Sam。
Hi, thank you very much for the introduction. And for your presentation. Very good.
Yep.
I'm Sam from Cedar Crest. We're a UK mortgage broker based here in Hong Kong, and we're a FCA regulated broker, and we're fully independent, which means we can provide mortgage advice across the whole of the UK market. Obviously, we're based in Hong Kong, so we're focusing a lot on Hong Kong investors, as well as people moving to the UK, so people moving on the BNO visa, and also UK expats that are living here. But we can also deal with people that are UK residents as well.
Hi Sam, we can't see you. We will turn on your camera for easy communication, I think. Hi Sam. 係咪 lost 咗咧？
好，唔緊要，大家請稍等一陣啊，咁我哋先 get 到個聯繫先。
It's saying the host has to turn on my camera. It won't let me do it.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
We have to authorize the camera. Yep.
That's what it is.
Yep.
Okay, please try again. Should be.
Still saying the host has stopped.
Yeah, Oh.
You can try to share your face again.
Yep, there we go.
Thank you. Yep.
Can we switch back to the presentation now? I can't see.
Yep. Can you see the PowerPoint?
No.
That second.
OK。好，各位久等啦。
Okay, thank you. So yeah, just following on from the first slide, so we can cater for all different types of property, so including apartments, whether new build or secondary market, also semi-detached house, fully detached house, HMO properties, which I know can be quite popular, and also Airbnb. So it doesn't matter what type of property you're buying or what kind of investment property it is, we can usually deal with it. Okay. So this table just shows the difference between a buy-to-let mortgage, so for an investment property, and compared to a buy-to-live mortgage. So if you're buying the property to live in whilst you're still living in if you're buying the property to live in whilst you're still living in Hong Kong, the criteria is quite different. So let's start with buy-to-let mortgage. So actually, we've got minimum here of £55,000, but in reality, there are actually a lot of lenders that don't have a minimum. But we usually find if their income is at least £25,000, then they're usually okay for the buy-to-let mortgage, because what they're looking for once you've met that minimum income, they're then not so concerned about your background income. They then want to see the rental income on the property you're buying, and then that's how they will determine whether you'll get the mortgage or not. So that's why the minimum income requirement is quite low. In terms of mortgage duration, the maximum is 35 years. So you could get a mortgage over 35 years, but usually there's a limit on that. So for buy-to-let, they will normally stop. The maximum age at the end of the mortgage will usually be 85. So that's just a good point to note, maybe for people that have stopped working, maybe they're retired, they can still get a UK buy-to-let mortgage quite easily up to age 85. And whilst interest rates have increased a little bit slightly with the Bank of England increasing their rates, we're still seeing at the low end interest rates starting from around 3.39%, but then going up to sort of the 4.5% range, depending on the type of property, the location, the loan size as well. And yeah, just the maximum loan to value is up to 85% currently for a buy-to-let mortgage. So then if we look at the buy-to-live side, the requirement, if you're looking for a buy-to-live mortgage before you move to the UK, so if you're still in Hong Kong, still working in Hong Kong, the income requirement is quite a lot higher. So it's around 75,000 GBP. And the reason for that is because a lot of the banks will look at the fact that you're still living in Hong Kong, trying to get a mortgage for the UK. So they almost have to count two sets of living costs. They have to assume living costs in Hong Kong and living costs in the UK. So that's why the income requirement is quite a lot higher. And that all has to be from base salary. So for example, it couldn't be like 50k base salary and then 30k commission. It all has to be from base salary income. And it all has to be from one applicant. So if there's two applicants together that have an income higher of 75k, that's still not enough. It has to be one person. One of the applicants has to have 75k of income on their own. So yeah, again, maximum 35 years for a buy-to-live mortgage, depending on your age. For a buy-to-live mortgage, the maximum age will usually be a bit shorter. So around 68 years old or 70 will be the age limit, just because with a buy-to-live mortgage, they're wanting you to have paid for more by the state retirement age, which in the UK is 68 to 70 years. So buy-to-live interest rates are a little bit lower. So you can probably still achieve rates of just under 3% for a buy-to-live mortgage in the current market. But then that still ranges from maybe 3% to 3.5%. And then yeah, if you're still living in Hong Kong and you're looking for a buy-to-live mortgage, the maximum will still be 75%. If you're living in the UK, then you can get a mortgage up to 80% or 85% if you're on the BNO visa. Okay. So yeah, this next slide it's just some bullet points on the document requirements that you would need, because there are a lot of documents to collect. So if you're kind of aware of what you'd need to prepare in good time for a mortgage application, then that will save a lot of time when you come to apply. So some banks, whilst they will say on their website they only want 3 bank statements, for example, it's common that they will end up asking for more bank statements than they state on their website. So we always tell clients to prepare the last 6 months of bank statements where they get paid their salary, also the last 6 months of any credit cards that they have in Hong Kong or any personal loans. If you're currently paying a mortgage in Hong Kong, then they will need to see the annual statement. So that's a yearly statement that gets sent, which will be a 1-page document that contains the last 12 months of payments. Also 6 months of payslip, if you get a payslip from your employer. Also, it's common that the bank will ask for the employer to prepare a reference letter, but that will depend on the bank, which if you were to apply for a mortgage with a bank that needs a reference letter, the bank will provide a template, but it's just something that can take some time with some employers, especially if it's a large employer, it can take some time for them to produce the letter. We often get asked about if the UK banks will require a Hong Kong credit report. 99% of the time they won't do a Hong Kong credit check. But there are a couple of lenders that will ask for the TU report. But just for as a mortgage broker, it's good if we can see a TU report. Whether we pass it on to the bank or not, it's helpful for us to see a TU report just so we can understand your situation better and recommend the most suitable lender. And then just a final point on self-employed people. If you're self-employed or a business owner, you will need the last 2 years of audited accounts from your Hong Kong accountant, and the last 2 years of your Hong Kong tax demand note, just so the bank can verify your income, because obviously you won't get payslip. So that's just a standard set of documents that most banks will ask for. Some banks will ask for a few different things. Okay. UK bank account. So we've made a whole slide for this just because it's the most important part. So if you're applying for a UK mortgage, 99% of lenders will need you to have a UK bank account already set up at the point of application. Otherwise, they won't even accept the application. I think there's one lender that I know of that doesn't require a UK bank, but every other lender will require it. So if you're thinking about getting a mortgage in the next 6 months and you don't yet have a UK bank, then I would recommend getting one set up in the next month or so, just because if you can go into HSBC Hong Kong to open the UK bank, but it will take maybe 3 weeks, even up to 6 weeks to open the UK bank, which we can also assist you with. There are also a couple of options depending on your situation to be able to open a UK virtual bank, which will be much quicker to open, but not everybody can do that. It depends on your situation. But this is the most important thing: open a UK bank account if you are looking for the UK mortgage. Okay. So yeah, then this slide is just an overview of how the process would work. So if you're looking at buying a new build property that's not yet complete, we would recommend starting the mortgage process 6 months before the completion date, just because that gives us enough time to figure out if there's any issues that need to be sorted with the application. Because if it's a new build, you need the offer in place before the property is ready to complete. So 6 months just gives us enough time to arrange everything, apply for the mortgage, and get the offer. So the process roughly follows what you can see on the screen. So the first point is to collect all the documents that we discussed on the previous slide. Any documents are in Chinese, so if they're bank statements that are only in Chinese, or the Hong Kong tax demand note is in Chinese, then that will all need to be translated into English by an official certified translator before applying for the mortgage. So that's why we're recommending 6 months in advance, because if there's any documents that we receive and then we figure out it needs to be translated, that can take some time. So it gives us enough time just to prepare any issues like that. Once we have all the documents, we would ask the client to complete just a data capture form, and we would be able to produce the agreement in principle, or the pre-approval as it's known as well. So a pre-approval is important for one, for you, the client, to understand how much you can borrow, and also it's important to show the seller that you're able to, buy this property. So if you're looking for properties, or still in the process of trying to find a property, we can also help you produce the pre-approval or the agreement in principle. So then you're able to show the document to the developers or the agents to show that you can afford the property. Next step, which you've already discussed, open the UK bank account. Then we would package the application with the lender. Once we've chosen the lender, we would package the application for the highest chance of success. So what that means is, because lenders don't often deal with clients from overseas, they might ask lots of questions about the background of the client. So our job is to basically put together the story in the best way possible to make sure the mortgage goes through as quickly as possible without them asking lots of questions that might hold up the process. So once we get to know you as a client, we can piece together the story in the right way and submit to the bank for the best chance of success. So there's always some questions that the lender will ask, as they have to ask certain questions for compliance and due diligence. So from the point of application, there could be maybe 4 weeks of the bank and the broker asking and answering questions back and forth about the client, just so that the bank become comfortable with the profile and the deal. So normally from the point of application to the point of mortgage offer is usually about 4 to 6 weeks. Also, during those 6 weeks, the property valuation has to happen, which is instructed by the bank. So during the mortgage process, the bank will instruct an independent surveyor to value the property, just to make sure everything's okay with the property and that the bank are happy with it. So after 4 to 6 weeks, you get your mortgage offer. Then the legal process has to happen, which can also add another maybe 4 to 6 weeks onto the process. So the overall process from point of application to getting the funds in the bank is probably 8 to 12 weeks overall. Okay. So then just a couple of case studies. So this one, let's have a look. So this is an example of a buy-to-let case study. So we have a property of, it's a case study which would be principal and interest repayment. So capital plus interest. So we're assuming here a property price of 343,500,000, a loan size for 75%, which would be an interest rate of approximately 3.74%, because the loan would be 257,692. And if we're assuming a rental income of 1,450 as well. So then based on that loan size and interest rate, the monthly repayment over 25 years would be 1,320. So that's just one example. So obviously having a higher loan size does obviously increase the monthly repayment if you're doing monthly repayment. 1 second. So I just asked in the chat, is it interest rate or fixed or floating? This is a fixed interest rate for 5 years. Okay, we can change to the next one. So then we've got another example of just doing interest only, just to show how that might differ, which can impact the monthly repayment quite significantly. So depending on if you're looking for an immediate cash flow, maybe you would go for interest only. So this is assuming property price of 239, and again 75% loan to value, but that would probably be a 3.99% interest rate based on the current market. So then we're assuming a rental income of 1,200, which would be about right for that property price. And yeah, because it's interest only, your monthly repayment is much lower, so about 595. So that just shows that, you know, if you do interest only, you're getting a much higher margin on the rental income and still able to borrow a high portion of the property.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. 大家有冇其他問題可以喺 chat room 度問低，我哋再同阿 Sam discuss 嘅。
係啦，咁喺呢個同時間咧，我哋不如就揀幾個單位俾大家望望，睇下可唔可以做一個參考啦，好嘛？
可以啊，咁我哋而家一路就會俾個 example 大家睇啦。咁如果大家有啲咩問題，已經有問題啦。Okay, Sam, we got the questions. Let me have a look first. 如果申請 buy to let 按揭，咁我申請 buy to let 申請 first home main residence。好，咁呢度未必會係阿 Sam 答，呢度我話俾大家聽先。嗱，首先啊，如果你個 stamp duty 咧係 apply to first home main residence 咧，咁即係話你喺個 stamp duty 嘅制度度咧係冇做 buy to let 個 extra 嘅話咧，咁喺法例嚟講咧，你個單位就不能夠出租，咁所以你個單位 suppose 唔可以申請 buy to let 嘅 mortgage 嘅。OK， 咁啊，如果照法理嚟計咧 ，once 你係 buy to let 嘅話咧，你就要 claim 翻個 stamp duty。咁當然，如果你問我 mortgage broker 會唔會 check 你 legal doc 咧 ，bank 有唔同 lender 答唔到你，但係我哋嘅角色都係，如果揸正嘅話咧，你 first home 係不能夠做到 buy to let 嘅，因為你係冇俾個 buy to let 嘅 extra 嘅 stamp duty。係啦。好，咁啊，so many questions 啊 ，just second. Second questions.
Lots of questions.
Yes, I think this is a good question. Someone asked, can the property refinance fully paid properties without the income proof?
Yes, that's possible. Depending on the lender, you might have to wait 6 months after the cash purchase before you do that. Some lenders that will give you the mortgage without the income proof and will do it solely based on the rental income of the property in question. But if you have no income proof in the background, normally the interest rate is a little bit higher. Okay. So you're probably and also then they will limit the maximum loan size. So if you've got no income proof, you might be looking at a maximum loan of 60% and an interest rate of high 4%, so maybe close to 5%. But it is still possible.
Okay, there's some rumors on the market saying once you're doing the property using refinance method to draw the cash out, you have to use the cash to buy the second property at the same bank. Is it must?
So Yeah, so again, it depends on the lender. Some lenders will be very strict and say you have to use the money to buy a new property, and they won't give you the money until the next property is completing. Some lenders are a little bit more relaxed and just want to know that the money is staying in the UK, and they won't really do many checks. But what they don't like is that if you're taking the money out to then invest it in the overseas stock market or something like that, they're not very comfortable with that. That's probably the only restriction.
OK, thank you。我呢度講一講，因為咧有啲客人都會問我哋嘅，如果我英國層樓我先做 cash buy， 然後再做 refinance， 啲錢租咗出嚟之後係咪任用？咁啊，呢個就係市場上有好多唔同嘅規矩啦。有啲銀行咧就話，你要喺我間銀行度咧用翻我嚿錢買第二個 property， 咁我就 lend 俾你啦。咁啊啱阿 Sam 就話啦，如果你啲錢咧留翻喺 UK 做其他 investment， 我都可以 lend 俾你嘅。但係如果我想租翻嚟香港，冇話唔得嘅，因為唔同 lender 有唔同嘅 requirement 啦，咁所以都係要同翻阿 Sam 去 check 翻嘅。咁當然 interest rate 會 base on 你租嚿錢出嚟嘅用途而嚟定究竟你有幾多 interest rate 啦。咁純粹係咁。Okay, the next question is, does UK bank accept guarantor if applicant has no income? Do you take guarantor, I think?
It depends on the situation of the client. So for people living in Hong Kong, there's not really many options for a guarantor, because especially if the guarantor also lives outside the UK. If everybody's living in the UK, then it's normally fine. You can get a guarantor quite easily, but they're not very comfortable if say the applicant lives outside of Hong Kong, or if the guarantor lives outside of the UK, or if the guarantor lives outside of the UK, they're not very comfortable with it.
Okay. 明白，因為呢個咧又係我哋之前有啲 view case 啊，我哋之前接觸過有唔同銀行啦，即係除咗我 send， 我哋接觸過 HSBC 啦，接觸過呢個 OCBC 啦。咁基本上咧呢個問題通常都係出自香港嘅家長嘅，就係我俾首期，然之後但係就仔仔女女名買，不過佢哋嘅 income 就未夠高，可以做到 mortgage， 我又想做 leverage， 話我可唔可以做我仔仔女女嘅 guarantor？ 嗱，喺英國嘅物業咧，如果你係 buy to let 嘅咧，基本上嗰幾間大行都係 reject 嘅。according to 阿 Sam 啦，咁當然好多唔同嘅 situation 啦，即係如果你嚟緊會去英國當地嘅，會唔會有其他 local bank 做到咧？咁就再斟酌。但係如果 in general 而家香港 market 上面有幾間大行，大家耳熟能詳嘅咧，都係 reject guarantor 嘅呢個角色嘅。咁所以家長們要留意翻啦。好，繼續睇下啲 question 先。好。
有冇一個最少嘅 minimum loan amount?
Yeah. One of our clients asking, is there any minimum loan amount for the mortgage or from the lender? Like 100K minimum loan amount?
So most lenders will have a minimum of 100K, but there are still possibilities to go lower. So there are some lenders with a minimum of 55K or 75K. But usually if the loan is below 100K, it usually comes with a higher interest rate. So yeah, if the loan is below 100K, the interest rate for somebody living in Hong Kong might be 5% or something, or even more.
Okay, gotcha. 咁其實都係㗎啦，唔同銀行有唔同嘅minimum loan requirement 啦，咁對於大行就比較 strict 啲啦 ，OK， 咁但係喺阿 Sam 嗰邊咧，因為佢哋 mortgage broker 有一樣嘢好嘅，就係佢哋可以 access 唔同銀行，無論係一線、二線定係 local bank， 佢哋都可以俾到啲 sheet 大家睇，即係睇啲 terms， 睇下你而家呢個物業，譬如如果大家真係買啲平啲物業，例如北部城市嘅 ，OK， 個 loan size 細啲嘅，有冇銀行做到咧？都做到嘅，但係都係要留意啦。OK， 唔同銀行出嘅 interest rate 都有唔一樣。我哋 view case 我見過最誇張嘅 interest rate 咧，可以去到6厘嘅。OK， 咁所以大家要衡量一下，究竟佢哋個 offer 係咪真係你嘅可接受情況啦？咁我見到陸續有兩個問題，可能都未必好適合阿 Sam 答，咁我哋就呢度唔答住，例如啲 tax rate 啊，或者 rental income 點樣計啊？嗱 ，rental income 好簡單嘅啫，就係我哋計每年收入嘅20至40% 啦，睇翻嗰個 basic rate 你過唔過啦？咁詳情可以揾翻 consultant 可以俾翻嗰個 tax。我哋有個 textbook 俾大家做參考嘅，跟住this is a good question because some client asked about your case study. This one, case study 2, they asked about if I'm just repaying the interest only. What about the principal? Should I paying in once after I sold my property, or how to handle the principal?
Yeah, so yes, if that is a good question. If you do choose to pay interest only, you have to have some kind of repayment strategy for the principal. So with most lenders, even if you do interest only, they will give you the option to pay 10% of principal each year without any penalty. So you could make flexible repayments of the principal up to 10% per year if you wanted to do that, or you could just pay it at the end of the term, or if you sold the property. So there's a few different ways you can do that.
Thank you. And the other question is the pros and cons about the fixed interest rate and floating rate. What do you think, Sam? How to choose?
Well, obviously, I wish I could see the future in terms of what interest rates will look like, but I can't, unfortunately. In a normal situation, the fixed rate is normally always higher than the floating rate. Obviously, because you're paying for the certainty of fixing the rate for a certain amount of time. But actually, in the current situation, because interest rates have just been rising at the moment, the fixed rate is actually a weird situation where the fixed rates are actually lower than the floating rates. So at this moment in time, it's probably sensible to choose a fixed rate option. But then it's more based on what do you feel comfortable with as a client? Do you feel comfortable with the possibility that your rate could go up or down, or do you really want that certainty of repayment every month? So it's not. I don't think it's a question of what's better or worse. It's really about the comfort level of the client, really.
Okay, I got a question for myself. Like if I pick an interest only package, how long can I take the interest only? Can I take it like 25th year, whole terms with interest only?
Yeah, so most lenders, you could do the whole term as interest only. But then you've got to think about the principal. At the end of that term, you've got to pay the principal. But you would have the option to do that for the whole period, yes.
Okay, good. What about if I like choose the fixed interest rate at the beginning, like the term year with a 5-year max?
Yeah.
Okay. After 5 years, I have to refinance my mortgage terms and then see if I want to pick the fixed rate again, or I choose the floating rate, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you fixed, you would maybe fix for 2 years or 5 years or 3 years, and then at the end of that time, you would be able to choose to a different arrangement.
Okay, cool, thanks. 咁我見到我哋 inbox 度陸續都有唔同嘅問題啊，咁啊包括就係點樣聯絡阿 Sam 啦，因為阿 Sam 本身係我哋世紀亞奇豐國際嘅一個伙伴啦，主要都係幫我哋啲客申請做 mortgage 嘅，咁所以基本上咧就係揾翻serve 開你嘅 public consultant，咁佢可以直接 link up 你同阿 Sam。咁啊，有啲問題咧，可能阿 Sam 就未必會喺而家答到啦。例如成個 mortgage 嘅 application cost， 咁但係 Sam，can I know about your cost if a client using your service?
Yeah. So yeah, we charge a flat fee. So it doesn't matter what the loan size is. We charge a flat fee for the mortgage broker service, and that's £1,450. So if you were buying 2 properties at the same time, that were completing at the same time, we would just charge 1 broker fee, for example. And then repeat customers, maybe further down the line, we would charge 50% of the broker fee to do a repeat customer.
Okay, thank you. 好，咁啊有啲客人就問到 legal fee 啊，冇錯，因為英國咧做 mortgage 咧，你係必須要你自己本身嘅買賣律師都係喺嗰間 lender as a panel lawyer 度先可以幫你一次過做到個 mortgage 嘅 legal 嘅。咁嘅費用咧由1,000磅到1,500磅不等啦，以我哋嘅 real case，OK。咁所以都係 depends on 你嗰個物業本身幫你做開買賣嘅 lawyer 可唔可以一次過做埋個 mortgage application？ 如果唔可以嘅話咧，我哋就會揾翻 panel lawyer 去幫你做㗎啦。咁呢樣嘢咧，我哋 agency 都可以有唔同 同嘅律師啦，又或者睇下阿 Sam 嗰邊嘅 lender 冇佢哋嘅 panel 落，我睇個 list 睇下邊啲 connection 可以俾到大家。咁我會問阿 Sam 攞翻佢哋嗰個 product 嘅 product fact sheet， 跟住我就可以 send 俾大家啦。咁大家就好 detail 知道個 breakdown， 即係佢哋可以 provide 嘅 service 要收幾多個 cost， 咁大家可以做個預備啦。咁啱阿 Sam 都講過啦，因為始終喺英國嗰邊咧，淨係做你個 application 啦，跟住做 legal doc 咧，都講緊要8個星期，即係差唔多2個幾月兩個月啦。咁但係本身你哋要交文件俾阿 Sam 咧，都要有個 processing time 嘅，因為佢收齊你啲文件，然後再幫你睇一睇你嗰個 portfolio 可以 apply 邊間 bank。所以 normally 喺英國嘅 mortgage application， 我哋都話預6個月就係咁解啦。咁所以大家如果有興趣或者有需要做按揭嘅話，早啲就聯絡我哋嘅 consultant 啦。咁我哋拎 up 你會發 Sam。咁今次呢個樓盤咧個落成日期就會係10月尾嘅。咁阿 Sam 個 session 就係咁多，我想講咁上下。Okay, Sam, we are good now. We will get all the questions in the chat box because we have a lot of questions. Maybe we can pass your contact to our client, and then they can do you directly. Maybe much easier. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
thank
I think my
you,
contact's on the
Sam.
side.
Thank you.
Okay, at the last section 啦，我哋會去做一啲 recommended unit 俾大家嘅，咁大家可以攞住我哋嘅 recommended unit 咧 as a real case 咧，可以俾阿 Sam 去睇一睇，究竟你呢個 project 可以做到幾多成嘅，即係 LVR 啦，又或者嗰個 repayment 係點樣？好，嚟個 real case 啊，阿 Sam 完咗 real case， 我哋嘅 real case 啊，咁可以望一望啦。
咁呢度係一間Block A 嘅一房啦，咁你見到咧售價咧大概516000英鎊啦，咁佢咧有一個特色嘅，就係呢個一房單位咧個樓底咧係特高嘅，去到2.9米嘅咁樣。咁你睇翻佢嘅間隔咧，其實咧佢都有527尺嘅。咁所以咧，其實一房一廁嘅單位啦，雖然佢係喺前面呢個位置啦，但係都係非常之好嘅。咁佢嗰個入口啦，其實就係喺你紅色框框下面呢度有個紅色門嘅，咁由呢邊入去啦，然後行樓梯上去上邊嘅，係啦。咁亦都你見到咧，其實呢個單位裏面咧都保留咗一啲叫做佢裏面嘅歷史嘅少少嘅 details 位啦。
呢個係我最中意嘅單位，因為最大嘅賣點咧就係佢係名次啊。基本上咧，英國嘅物業咧，你好少可見到新樓係做到名次，而咁啱呢個 Block A， 因為佢嗰個積嘅劃分啦，所以令到佢可以做到名次。其實呢個係最大賣點，再加上佢係古舊建築式嘅 bedroom 嘅設計，咁所以得佢呢一個 corner 嘅一個單位先有弧形窗，所以你個 bedroom 咧就會大啲。咁同埋你見到有兩個凹位，其實佢就係標應以前個火爐，佢會原址保留翻個火爐，再幫你裝修一下。咁所以你兩個火爐係一個好特色嘅，即係 art piece 喺你間屋度。咁所以呢個係最大 selling point。咁real case 呢一個單位咧，我哋睇翻周邊租金呢個 size 咧，佢可以放租係講緊1800磅或 above 嘅。OK，冇錯。咁所以基本上4厘回報咧都走唔甩㗎啦。咁因為附近有啲 second hand 可能冇咁新淨住過嘅，都講緊起碼都1700攤。咁呢個就係個 rental yield。咁一房嘅 recommendation 就係呢個啦。咁睇一睇兩房啦。嗱，兩房呢個係擺咗喺 new build 嗰邊嘅。咁佢有埋個 balcony 啦。咁講緊個尺價都係 below 1000磅一尺。因為呢個就係個 investment value， 就係附近周邊咧 second hand 嘅尺價咧，佢嘅物價仲貴過係今次 off the plan， 咁當然就係因為佢係 first release 嘅價單啦，咁所以成日都話係低水就係咁解。咁你見到有768尺10尺，咁就 two bedroom 啦 ，open kitchen 啦，一個大嘅 living room 啦，仲有個 balcony，咁佢都係賣緊73萬8，咁所以個尺價真係講緊 below 1000磅。咁呢個 rental yield 咧 ，at least 可以出咗到至少2300磅，2300、2400啦，差唔多係呢個位置。係啦。咁你都留意到，其實我啱啱我講我哋嗰兩個單位咧，其實都係有前後通風嘅，咁即係同其他嗰啲叫做one block 式嗰啲咧，就有少少唔同嘅咁樣咯。特色單位 ，for buy to live 嘅客客。係，咁一個3房嘅 duplex 啦，咁就會係喺佔用咗2樓同3樓呢個位置嘅。咁你見到咧，佢係由2樓嗰度咧行樓梯入去咧，然後再上一層咧，就會係3間睡房嘅位置。咁同樣地啦，其實佢都係名次嘅。咁你見到咧，其實成個叫做呢個叫 listed building 啦，其實大部分嘅戶型啦都係名次嘅，係啦。咁所以你可以望到呢度亦都係其中一個特色位置。係啦，咁售價方面啦，就大概104千
我真係讀唔到
4萬嚇。OK， 咁即係個尺價咧都係即係都係 below 1000 一尺啦。咁啊，最重要就係 Inner London 你想揾 house 咧，可以係好天價，OK， 亦都可以係冇盤俾你揾到啊。咁所以如果你話特色單位 duplex 有足夠嘅室內空間貨自住咧，你話真係 Inner London Zone 1 Zone 2呢個係一個as a price point 係一個好 attractive 嘅一個 size 嘅。咁所以大家又可以睇下啦，個 buy to live 嘅話。咁啊，如果大家對以上嘅都有興趣咧，咁個 payment procedure 都好簡單嘅啫，就係今日就我哋預留單位啦，5000pound就可以幫你 lock 死個單位啦。原因就係因為而家全球發售緊，咁我哋幫你 lock 死個單位之後咧，咁我哋就會開始幫你 arrange 呢個mortgage 啦，同阿 Sam 見啦，又或者可能同香港 HSBC 見啦，因為我哋除咗阿 Sam 係我哋嘅 mortgage broker。我哋好多唔同嘅銀行都有 direct contact 嘅，咁啊希望可以 facilitate 到我哋咁多位買家啦。然之後我哋就會接洽當地嘅律師去準備合約㗎啦。within 30日內咧就俾個首期15%，咁啊收樓找尾數，連個 stamp duty 咧都係首樓先俾嘅。咁所以個 payment terms 咧都幾 good fit 咧，要做 mortgage 做 leverage 嘅。
啱啱好5-6個月啦，其實啱啱好做到個 mortgage 㗎。咁
啊，所以如果大家有興趣嘅話，就快啲揾翻我哋 consultant 啦。咁呢個時候，大家可以繼續喺 chat room 度問問題嘅。咁我哋會收翻啲問題咧，咁我哋嘅 consultant 就會覆翻嚟啦。
冇錯。咁
最後時間啦，都要賣廣告啦，就係希望我哋可以為你定時定候帶嚟唔同嘅資訊啦，同埋新聞。咁所以熒光幕上面咧都係我哋嘅 social media platform，Facebook、IG、YouTube 咧 keep 就會 update 我哋唔同樓盤嘅資訊咧。最重要就係 property market 嘅 update，就係特別係 Facebook，因為我哋每1-2日咧都會出一啲地好得意又或者大家必須要知嘅新聞 ，OK，咁希望可以隔空都令到大家緊密接觸與英國當地啊，咁起碼做海外買家嘅都冇咁心大心細，我唔知英國嗰邊發生咩事，我唔知有啲咩事大事發生啦，咁有我哋奇豐國際同事幫你咧，希望可以拉近你同物業之間嘅距離啦。
同埋今日呢條片啦，都會上載到我哋嘅 YouTube channel 嘅，如果你想重溫翻啦，同阿 Sam 嘅對話啦，咁都可以喺嗰邊咧睇翻嘅。
好，咁大家仲有啲咩問題係想問我哋咧？咁我再睇翻個 chat room 睇下有啲乜嘢可以答到嘅，都答咗大家先啦。好啱有個問題，我睇翻下，咁就係嗰個 rental income 可唔可以做 personal income for apply mortgage？ 我哋都係講 bill case， 因為始終 product knowledge 我哋冇阿 Sam 咁熟悉。OK， 我哋自己 bill case 就好似我嘅客人咁啦，咁佢送出個層樓上年收樓嘅，咁佢其中一個 income proof 去幫大自己嗰個 yearly income 咧，就係用佢香港嘅物業收租 item。OK， 咁就做其中一個 personal income，咁但係都係其中一個嘅啫，咁係 can 嘅。不過啲 lender 會問你呢一個 rental income 嘅 property 有冇 liability， 即係有冇 debt 喺身。係。OK， 如果本身你呢個嘅我個客嗰個咧就係供斷咗啦，咁你純 rental income 啦。但係如果佢嗰個物業係未供斷嘅話咧，咁銀行就會 base on 佢哋嗰個 credit 去做翻個 debit。咁所以呢樣嘢要考慮一下啦。咁當我講緊嘅都係啲大行啦，咁HSBC 啦，咁或者係 BOC 啦，或者上海商業銀行啦，或者 OCBC 都有咁樣做嘅。咁當然可能喺阿 Sam 嗰邊有啲 local bank。或者二線銀行咧，佢哋嘅計法唔一樣，咁純粹大家都係以供參考。咁同埋咧 ，buy to let 嘅 mortgage 咧，如果你做 application 咧，佢會問翻你 provide 翻，即係有冇 prediction of 呢個 property 嘅 rental income， 因為逢親 buy to let 嘅物業咧，你呢個物業未來嘅租金收入咧都可以 count 入去你嘅 yearly income，咁當然會有少少 discount 啦，咁但係呢一個單位未來嘅收租，佢都可以幫助你過到佢哋 minimum yearly income requirement 嘅嗰條boundary啦。OK， 好。仲有冇特別問題咧？如果冇嘅話咧，咁下個星期三再見大家，因為我哋逢星期三都會有 webinar 帶唔同嘅物業資料，又或者帶唔同嘅主題項目翻嚟同大家見面嘅。希望每個星期三我哋都會見到你啊！
希望我哋每個星期三都俾到一啲有用嘅資料你哋啦。
好，咁林拉士答埋呢個問題，因為呢個問題都幾好。How's the tax percentage like for rental income？OK， 啱，我哋大致上都講咗，因為咧記得喺英國咧，基本上我哋每賺1蚊都要交稅嘅。OK， 如果你係冇持有 BC passport 咧，咁我哋就冇呢個 subsidize， 咁所以我哋就要交足稅。我哋嘅租金收入咧，我哋扣翻 net， 咩叫扣翻 net 咧？譬如我收100蚊租嘅，我扣翻晒我所有物業嘅成本，例如就係管理費啦、letting management 啦、 如果你係自己住，我唔會自己住咯，係啦。咁啊，因為你要收租嘛。咁啊，同埋你個單位所有嘅 maintenance 嘅 cost 扣晒嘅 net income， 再打翻20至40% 嘅 tax rate。
係啦，睇翻如果你係收入真係好高嘅，咁啊打4%。如果你係收入又未
高到
到去
幾多咧？年收入過咗32萬港紙左右啊！我要睇翻個 tax bar。OK， 因為個 basic rate 好似係32,500。
早年好似改咗做5
係啦，咁你睇，我哋再睇一睇，我再話翻你聽。總之你未去到真係高收入嘅話，都唔需要打40% 嘅，就打20% on 你嘅 net rental yield。OK， 咁UK passport holder 一樣嘢好嘅，就係你有個免稅額。
冇錯。
OK， 每年 income tax 你都有個免稅額，應該係12,500磅嘅。個 slightly 有少少個尾數話。係啦。咁所以你 UK passport holder 你就多咗一個 income tax allowance。咁所以好多即係 UK passport holder 咧，都會買大約個 property amount 咧，係令到佢哋唔需要交到 income tax 嘅。例如即係可能500零萬左右，或者平過500零萬，因為你計得翻嗰個 rental income 每年都可能收緊2萬幾磅，咁咪再扣埋啲 maintenance cost， 再扣呢樣早要做稅報稅咁扣，跟住再補埋自己嗰個 personal allowance， 有機會去做到唔使交稅。咁所以啲 UK passport holder 又可以喺呢個方面去諗下，你究竟係想買幾多錢嘅物業，然後製造幾多%嘅 rental income。咁有機會你可以做到唔使交稅。好似我個客咁，佢 UK passport holder， 佢買咗個物業30零萬，咁每年嘅租金收入都係講緊冇乜20萬，冇20萬個，冇20萬港紙。咁所以用佢嘅 personal income 咧嘅 personal allowance 就已經 cover 咗啦，咁就唔使交稅。呢個都可以做計法嘅。OK。好，咁至上今日就係咁多啦，多謝大家同我哋度過咗一個晏晝啦，希望今日嘅資訊為你帶嚟一啲 idea， 亦都希望你對 Clapham 感興趣。Clapham 真係一個好地方，亦都係值得投資，無論係配套啦、佢哋嘅 demographic 啦、人均收入啦、你租客嘅客戶群啦，同埋放售對象都十分之有保證嘅。而個租務情況，我哋都係十分之有信心。我相信如果你買1至2房嘅話，within 2至3個禮拜都必定揾到租客，因為個 demand 太大啦。如果你想再查詢多啲，或者你想我哋嘅 consultant 幫你做一份叫做投資回報預算表，好令到你有一個 idea 按自己嘅 overseas property 嘅話咧，都係即刻聯絡我哋 consultant， 我哋都可以幫你做一個投資回報表嘅。今日咁多先啦 ，thank you，
多謝晒各位，
拜拜。